Chair now recognizes the gentleman from Illinois, Mr. Shimkus, for 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for being here, Mr. Zuckerberg. Two things. First, I want to thank Facebook. You streamlined our congressional baseball game last year. We got the managers here, and I was told that because of that, we raised an additional $100,000 for DC literacy and feeding kids and stuff. So that's the other thing is I usually put my stuff up on the TV. I don't want to do it very much because it's my dad, and he'd be mad if he went international like you are. And he's been on Facebook for a long time. He's 88. It's been good for connecting with kids and grandkids. I just got my mother involved on an iPad, and because she can't handle a keyboard. And I did this last week. So that in this world of activity, I still think there is a positive benefit for my parents to be engaged on this platform. So, but there's issues that's being raised today. And so I'm going to go into a couple of those. Facebook may develop access to user and friend data back in, your main update was in 2014. So the question is, what triggered that update?
Congressman, this is an important question to clarify. So in 2007, we launched the platform in order to make it so that people could sign into other apps, bring some of their information and some of their friends' information to have social experiences. This created a lot of innovative experiences, new games, companies like Zynga. There were companies that you're familiar with, like Netflix and Spotify, had integrations with this that allowed social experiences in their apps. But unfortunately, there were also a number of apps that used this for abuse, to collect people's data.
So if I can interrupt, it's just you identified that there was possibly social scraping going on.
Yeah, there was abuse. And that's why in 2014, we took the step of fundamentally changing how the platform works. So now, when you sign into an app, you can bring your information. And if a friend has also signed into the app, then the app can know that you're friends, so you can have a social experience in that app. But when you sign into an app, it now no longer brings information from other people.
Yeah, let me go to your announcement of audits. Who's going to conduct an audit when we're talking about, are there other Cambridge Analytics out there?
Yes, Congressman, good question. So we're going to start by doing an investigation internally of every single app that had access to a large amount of information before we lock down the platform. If we detect any suspicious activity at all, we are working with third-party auditors. I imagine there will have to be a number of them because there are a lot of apps, and they will conduct the audit for us.
Yeah, I think we would hope that you would bring in a third party to help us clarify and have more confidence. The last question I have is, in yesterday's hearing, you talked a little about Facebook tracking in different scenarios, including logged off users. Can you please clarify us how that works, and how does tracking work across different devices?
Yes, Congressman, thank you for giving me the opportunity to clarify that. So one of the questions is what information do we track and why about people who are not signed into Facebook? We track certain information for security reasons and for ads reasons. For security, it's to make sure that people who are not signed into Facebook can't scrape people's public information. You can, even when you're not signed in, you can look up the information that people have chosen to make public on their page because they wanted to share it with everyone, so there's no reason why you should have to be logged in. But nonetheless, we don't want someone to be able to go through and download every single public piece of information. Even if someone chose to make it public, that doesn't mean that it's good to allow someone to aggregate it. So even if someone isn't logged in, we track certain information like how many pages they're accessing as a security measure. The second thing that we do is we provide an ad network that third-party websites and apps can run in order to help them make money. And those ads, similar to what Google does and what the rest of the industry does, it's not limited to people who are just on Facebook. So for the purposes of that, we may also collect information to make it so that those ads are more relevant and work better on those websites. There's a control that for that second class of information around ad targeting, anyone can turn off, has complete control over it. For obvious reasons, we do not allow people to turn off the measurement that we do around security.
The gentleman's time has expired. We now turn to the gentleman from New York, Mr. Engel, for 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Zuckerberg, you have roots in my district, the 16th Congressional District of New York. I know that you attended Ardsley High School and grew up in Westchester County. As you know, Westchester has a lot to offer, and I hope that you might commit to returning to Westchester County, perhaps to do a forum on this and some other things. So I hope you would consider that. We'll be in touch with you. But I know that Ardsley High School is very proud of you. You mentioned yesterday that Facebook was deceived by Alexander Kogan when he sold user information to Cambridge Analytica. Does Facebook, therefore, plan to sue Alexander Kogan, Cambridge University, or Cambridge Analytica, perhaps for unauthorized access to computer networks, exceeding access to computer networks, or breach of contract, and why or why not?
Congressman, it's something that we're looking into. We already took action by banning him from the platform, and we're going to be doing a full audit to make sure that he gets rid of all the data that he has as well. To your point about Cambridge University, what we've found now is that there's a whole program associated with Cambridge University where a number of researchers, not just Alexander Kogan, although to our current knowledge he's the only one who sold the data to Cambridge Analytica, there were a number of other researchers who were building similar apps. So we do need to understand whether there was something bad going on at Cambridge University overall that will require a stronger action from us.
You mentioned before in your remarks hate speech. We've seen the scale and reach of extremism balloon in the last decade, partially because of the expansion of social platforms, whether it's a white supremacist rally in Charlottesville that turned violent, or to ethnic cleansing in Burma that resulted in the second largest refugee crisis in the world. Are you aware of any foreign or domestic terrorist organizations, hate groups, criminal networks, or other extremist networks that have scraped Facebook user data? And if they have, and if they do it in the future, how would you go about getting it back or deleting it?
Congressman, we're not aware of any specific groups like that have engaged in this. We are, as I've said, conducting a full investigation of any apps that had access to a large amount of data, and if we find anything suspicious, we'll tell everyone affected. We do not allow hate groups on Facebook overall. So if there's a group that their primary purpose or a large part of what they do is spreading hate, we will ban them from the platform overall.
So do you adjust your algorithms to prevent individuals interested in violence or nefarious activities from being connected with other like-minded individuals?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Do you adjust your algorithms to prevent individuals interested in violence or bad activities from being connected with other like-minded individuals?
Congressman, yes, that's certainly an important thing that we need to do.
Okay, and finally, let me say this. Many of us are very angry about Russian influence in the 2016 presidential elections and Russian influence over our presidential elections. Does Facebook have the ability to detect when a foreign entity is attempting to buy a political ad? And is that process automated? Do you have procedures in place to inform key government players when a foreign entity is attempting to buy a political ad or when it might be taking other steps to interfere in an election?
Congressman, yes, this is an extremely important area. After we were slow to identify the Russian information operations in 2016, this has become a top priority for our company to prevent that from ever happening again. Especially this year in 2018, which is such an important election year with the U.S. midterms, but also major elections in India, Brazil, Mexico, Hungary, Pakistan, and a number of other places. So we're doing a number of things that I'm happy to talk about or follow up with afterwards around deploying new AI tools that can proactively catch fake accounts that Russia or others might create to spread misinformation. And one thing that I'll end on here, just because I know we're running low on time, is since the 2016 election, there have been a number of significant elections, including the French presidential election, the German election, and last year the U.S. Senate Alabama special election. And the AI tools that we deployed in those elections were able to proactively take down tens of thousands of fake accounts that may have been trying to do the activity that you're talking about. So our tools are getting better. For as long as Russia has people who are employed who are trying to perpetrate this kind of interference, it will be hard for us to guarantee that we're going to fully stop everything. But it's an arms race, and I think that we're making ground and are doing better and better and are confident about how we're going to be able to do it.
Gentleman's time has expired.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman of the Health Subcommittee, Dr. Burgess of Texas, for 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks to our witness for being here today. Mr. Chairman, I have a number of articles that I'm asking unanimous consent to insert into the record. I know I won't have time to get to all of my questions.
Without objection, and we put the slide up you requested.
And so I'm going to be submitting some questions for the record that are referencing these articles. One is Friended, How the Obama Campaign Connected with Young Voters by Michael Scherer. We already know how to protect ourselves from Facebook, and I hope I get this name right, Zeynep Tufekci. And It's Time to Break Up Facebook by Eric Wilson, who, in the interest of full disclosure, is a former staffer. And I will be referencing those articles in some written questions. I consulted my technology guru, Scott Adams, in the form of Dilbert, going back 21 years ago. And when you took the shrink wrap off of a piece of software that you bought, you were automatically agreeing to be bound by the terms and conditions. So we've gone a long way from taking the shrink wrap off of an app, but I don't know that things have changed all that much. And I guess, does Facebook have a position, a position that you recommend for elements of a company's terms and conditions that you encourage consumers to look at before they click on the acceptance?
Congressman, yes. I think that it's really important for the service that people understand what they're doing and signing up for and how the service works. We have laid out all of what we do in the terms of service because that's what is legally required of us.
Let me just ask you, because we're going to run short on time, have you laid out for people what it would be indicative of a good actor versus a less than good actor in someone who's developed one of these applications?
Congressman, yes. We have a developer terms of service, which is separate from the normal terms of service for individuals using the service.
Is the average consumer able to determine what elements would indicate poor or weak consumer protections just by their evaluation of the terms and conditions? Do you think that's possible?
Congressman, I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Well, can the average person, the average layperson, look at the terms and conditions and make the evaluation, is this a strong enough protection for me to enter into this arrangement? Look, I'm as bad as anyone else. I see an app, I want it, I download it, I breeze through the stuff, just take me to the good stuff in the app. But if a consumer wanted to know, could they know?
Congressman, I think you're raising an important point, which is that I think if someone wanted to know, they could. But I think that a lot of people probably just accept terms of service without taking the time to read through it. I view our responsibility not as just legally complying with laying it out and getting that consent, but actually trying to make sure that people understand what's happening throughout the product. That's why every single time that you share something on Facebook or one of our services, right there is a control in line where you control who you want to share with. Because I don't just think that this is about a terms of service, it's contextual. You want to present people with the information about what they might be doing and give them the relevant controls in line at the time that they're making those decisions, not just have it be in the background sometime or up front, make a one-time decision.
Yeah, let me move on to something else. Mr. Pallone brought up the issue of he wanted to see more regulation. We actually passed a bill through this committee last Congress dealing with data breach notification, not so much for Facebook, but for the credit card breaches. A good bill. Many of the friends on the other side of the dais voted against it. But it was Ms. Blackburn's bill, and I think it's one we should consider again in light of what's going on here. But you also signed a consent decree back in 2011. And, you know, when I read through that consent decree, it's pretty explicit. And there is a significant fine of $40,000 per violation per day. And if you've got 2 billion users, you can see how those fines would mount up pretty quickly. So in the course of your audit, are you extrapolating data for the people at the Federal Trade Commission for the terms and conditions of the consent decree?
That is, I'm not sure what you mean by extrapolating data.
Well, you've referenced there are audits that are ongoing. Are you making that information from those audits available to our friends at the agency at the Federal Trade Commission?
Congressman, as you know, the FTC is investigating this, and we're certainly going to be complying with them and working with them on that investigation.
Gentlemen.